How did you start your relationship with him? How did that come to be?
Kobe was a fresh-faced rookie in 1996 when I met him. He had just come out of high school, 18 years old, and all of a sudden there he is on my set during Lakers Media Day. And like any young player or a new player I hadn't met before, traded player, I went to introduce myself to him, and he put his hand out and he looked me straight in the eye while I was shaking my hand. He said, "Well, I know who you are." And I said, I thought he was being kind of a smart ass, quite frankly. I said, I don't know how you could, because we've never met before. And he said, "Well, I had all your posters in my room growing up." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, the posters of Jordan and Magic and Isaiah and all the guys that I studied growing up, they were all your posters." So here's a kid who studied like every, back in the day, ink drop of a poster, and he recognized my name. It just was mind blowing. So that's when the relationship started, and I knew it was going to be very special because I saw a little bit in him at that age, what I was like at that age, and but I saw this kind of drive and ambition in him that really struck a chord with me. So we had a great relationship behind the scenes, mutually respectful. What I always loved about Kobe was that he gave back so much respect to me because of what I did, and it really helped me and fueled me. He was very close to the best. Kobe never let anyone except me see his private workouts that he would do with it, just him and his trainer. Even his own teammates and the Lakers training staff never saw some of these workouts, quite frankly.
Let's just talk briefly about your book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. What was the impetus for that starting?
When he announced his retirement, that 2016 was going to be his last season, there was just this mountain of photography that I had created. Yeah, a lot of it had been published, but so much of it had not been seen. So he and I talked about it. I decided I'm going to present him with this prototype of a book that I want to do, documenting his career through my lens. And it was always my dream to have a Taschen sumo book. They're like 2 feet by 3 feet. They're humongous. They've done them of every incredible, band like the Rolling Stones, and Annie Leibovitz has this amazing book, and all the great photographers out there, Neil Leifer. It was always my dream, so Molly Carter and I, who's Kobe's CMO, we went to meet with Taschen, and they said, "Well, if you can get the subject, Kobe, to kind of bite into it, yeah, well, we'll consider it, no commitment." So I created a prototype of this Taschen book. Cost me a fortune to make 2 copies of it was about, 40, 50 pages, giant, I mean, huge, right? And made an appointment, brought it down to him, went into his conference room, his whole team is there. I give him white gloves to put on, made a whole Megillah out of this thing, and I bring this book out of this leather case. I mean, it really was a production, and I put it in front of him as a leather embossed cover, and he starts leafing through it, and these gigantic pictures of him, all my favorite photos and moments of his career, and he's looking through it, and he doesn't say a word, and I'm like, as my dad used to say, I'm like sweating bullets, And Molly is looking at me, and I've become very good friends, and I know that look. It's like, okay, this was a gamble. And he looks at it, and maybe once or twice he'll give a like that. And then he very carefully closes it, and he takes off the gloves, and he puts them down, and he takes a beat, and he looks at me, he goes, "Andy," he goes, "I got some good news, and I got some bad news for you." I said, "Okay, give me the good news first." And he said, "The good news is we're going to do a book together." And I'm like, "Great." I said, "What's the bad news?" He says, "It's not going to be this book." I said, "Okay, Mr. Mamba, what book are we doing?" And he said, "I want to do a book that is in my own words, that really lets people into my world, that lets people understand what it means to be the Black Mamba, what the Mamba mentality means, what it took to become who I am, because I want to give this to the world. It was literally in his words. He wrote every word in the book. After the tragedy of him dying so incredibly, shockingly, such a horrible way in January, the book became the connection to him for the fans, the millions of fans out there. And it's been so gratifying to me that we were able to do this book together and that we created this vehicle and this thread. It's really about greatness and achieving greatness and finding within yourself that level that you never thought was possible, because we all have that. And that's really what the Mamba mentality is all about.